Welcome, everybody, inside the coach's office. I'm your host, Dan Murphy, alongside my co host, Brian Barnes. And Brian, a pretty cold day here in Michigan, but how you doing today?
Hey, I'm Dan. I'm all right. I'm just it's dark already. It's barely 5 o'clock, right? It's that time of year. Just grinding through it, waiting for Christmas and New Year's festivities to hit us this next week. But it's good talking to you, man. Like always.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of disappointing last weekend with the Lions. They fall to the Rams. High scoring affair. I think we all thought it was kind of go that way. Actually, kind of went almost exactly how I thought it might go. High scoring, back and forth shootout. But ultimately, the Lions they just could not stop that Rams attack and that passing attack of Stafford and Nakua. Absolutely dominated the Lions defense.
Yeah, we talked about that with Sean Belizean the other day, and we kind of felt that the Lions were in trouble, and obviously Matt Stafford's been playing at a high level, and the Lions aren't really healthy in their back end, and Nakua had 181 yards and just dominated, and you kind of like we said, we kind of talked about that it was going to be like that, but the Lions had the lead at halftime, and I thought there were opportunities they wasted a little bit. Their passing game, Amon-Ra and Jameson Williams had big days, but gosh, like your running game, when that doesn't get going and, you're relying only on one side of the ball, it's a problem. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery had, looks like 70 yards exactly rushing combined. And that's a problem when each week, I've talked about, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the best player in football, but for as explosive as they have been, they're still very inconsistent on that side of the ball. And I guess if there's one saving grace to all this is, we saw last night the Rams probably blew a game to Seattle. They probably should have won up 16 in the fourth quarter, and it was kind of a bizarre ending. But like the NFC is you've brought it up before. There's so many teams that are good and really close together. I don't think there's one team, even with that loss to the Rams, that is just so far ahead of the rest, and now you're seeing other teams like the Lions all year and really last year talking about injuries and not being healthy. And now you're seeing it's catching up to other teams as well, obviously Micah Parsons and others. So, I mean, again, maybe this is the optimist in me because there's been times I'm critical and I can be down.
You thought they were done. You didn't think they were going to make it.
Yeah. And now, though, it's setting up and, like the Bears and Packers have a tough schedule. These last three games, there are some games where they're going to have to grind to win. And it's same with the Lions, right? I mean, right now it looks like potentially the most dangerous team they play right now might be the Vikings. They played well last week and that's a road game, but who knows? But I think the Lions can like regroup and win this week and Green Bay and Chicago have a tough road ahead and who knows what could happen.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions offense leads the NFL in scoring. So you can always fall back on that. And despite the fact that they couldn't run the ball, which is concerning, Jared Goff had a phenomenal game. I mean, he was, even when the pocket would break down, he was doing things that he doesn't normally do. And he was stepping up in the pocket and avoiding the rush and keeping his eyes downfield and getting the ball downfield and getting the ball to his weapons. And I thought he had a phenomenal game despite the loss.
Yeah, he did, and like I said, I've been critical of him, and that's crucial. But one of the ways, the frustrating part, I'm sure for Dan Campbell and the offensive guys, though, one of the ways you can protect a beat up defense is by controlling the clock. You know what I'm saying? But you do that by running the football and getting first downs, and it's great. You're explosive. You want to score points. That's the name of the game. But at times, like it was right after the half. The Lions went 3 and out those first 2 drives, and then you kind of just felt like that was it, right? I mean. Like get a couple first downs, get some field position, and you're feeling pretty good potentially, and that didn't happen, unfortunately, in that situation. So you just wish they were a little bit more consistent on the ground, as good as Goff played.
Yeah, I think that's the most shocking thing to come out from this game is how much the Lions got dominated on both sides of the ball at the line of scrimmage. Couldn't run the ball offensively, which put a lot of pressure on Goff, which I thought he like I said, played really well and was able to kind of go score for score with the Rams for the most part until that third quarter. Things got shut down a bit and they got behind. But the running game not only getting 70 yards, and then for the defense, I think the most shocking is the defense giving up 159 yards, 5.5 yards per carry. It just seems like, man, when they had opportunities maybe to get a stop, they couldn't stop the run.
Yeah.
So obviously that did, it makes it so much more difficult on your secondary. And the fact is, that secondary is completely decimated with injuries, but that front seven is not. They have everybody is there, and these guys are a lot of these guys are getting paid a lot of money, or were very high draft picks, and they're there, they're healthy and they're ready to go. And man, they did not perform on Sunday against the Rams.
It does feel like the defense, for as good as they played. I remember talking to you about how they played against Tampa Bay a while back, right? You do kind of feel like they've taken a step back a little bit, and the outcome has, unfortunately, kind of shown that. And you're right, guys need to play better. And again, the Los Angeles is playing at an extremely high level, right? Kyren Williams is a really good running back. Like they can run the ball and they're really good too. But you're just hoping like there was a couple fourth downs that the Rams were able to get as well that continued drives, and you just want to get off the field, and they couldn't do it. And again, those are situations like Aiden Hutchinson's been playing better, but like God, like don't you just want him to take over a game, right? Like you haven't felt that in a while.
I mean, he did have that interception.
He did. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, yes, I agree, I agree. But like at times, you watch Myles Garrett or even Aiden Hutchinson last year before he got hurt, right? There were games where he was just like, taking over and then taking over late, right? And I'm not putting it all on him, but because it's the defense as a whole. Kind of hope, right? You kind of hope you adjust.
The other part of that is too, Brian, like when they're running the ball the way they are, when teams are running the ball on the Lions the way they are, it doesn't put the defense in situations that are third and longs, where it's obvious pass downs and Hutchinson can just pin his ears back and get after the quarterback, where it's, it's a lot of 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 2nd and shorts. Like, though, those aren't downs where he's got to play both. He's got to play both the run and the pass. And the other aspect I wanted to bring up is, we talk about the secondary being decimated, and we think about the pass defense, but also the rush defense. Like Brian Branch was a guy that would fly in there. He was their strong safety. He could come up into the box when they needed him to. They wanted to get an extra guy in the box, or even if he was playing back, man, his way he would be able to recognize when it was a run play. So many times he would just fly from the secondary and make plays, out of nowhere and get involved in the tackles. And he is obviously missed in their rush defense.
Yeah, absolutely he is. And we talked about that before and his importance to the defense. And, when this player was released recently, I thought, he might be a good fit for the Lions just to throw a flyer because you think he's kind of desperate. He's a little bit older, 33, but the Bills obviously just signed him with Matthew Judon. It would have been a nice to potentially take a chance on him to help the defense out. But it was a 1-score game. You know what I mean? I mean, the Lions were right there, right? And everybody's battling. Every team we talk about this is battling something. So they're not far away. Unfortunately, that's one of those deals like, years past, you would say, the Lions knew how to win close games. And they've lost a few close games this year, right? To the Eagles, to the Vikings at home, this one, to the Packers on Thanksgiving Day, right? So that's unfortunate that, you're waiting. We're kind of waiting for that breakthrough moment. Like, okay, close games, like we got to win those.
Yeah, and it just feels when your offense is playing that as well as they did and puts up 34 points and you still can't find a way to win. And it's just getting to the point now where it's like, I don't know how this defense gets stops. Like if you can't stop the run now, I mean, that's a wrap. Like if they're giving up this many yards rushing in a game, 159 yards rushing, they can't win games. They just straight up can't win games if their front seven can't stop the run.
No, and I'm nitpicking, like you said, the high scoring offense in the NFL, 34 points. That should be a win, but again, like when you have the lead coming out of the half, like that's imperative. Like playing it with the lead sometimes is challenging. Like we've talked about this before, 4-minute offense later on in the game, and it's just different. And you have to be able to run the football because it is a long game. And yeah, we feel like, we're going back and forth. Like the Lions haven't gone on a little bit of a run in a while. It feels like it's back and forth, win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. And, that bodes well for this Sunday, I guess. But again, you feel like that and the game in Philadelphia were lost opportunities.
Yeah, and they fall to 8-6, and normally an 8-6 record, you'd feel okay. Like you'd feel like, okay, yeah, maybe they're not going to win the division, but should be pretty, comfortable getting into the playoffs with 7 teams that get in. But not this year, not this year with the way the NFC lines up. And man, it's just it's looking to the point now where the Lions, not only are they going to have to run the table these final 3 games, but they're probably going to need some help as well to get in.
Yep, I like to have some fun with the ESPN playoff machine. I do, and there is a path. And I sent you a text, like half jokingly. I said I think the Lions are going to win the division still. So like if we assume we win out, I don't think the Packers and Bears are gonna go undefeated. And actually, I think they'll both have 2 losses. And that bodes well for the Lions. But it doesn't matter if they don't take care of business, right? That's a fact. Like they got to clean up the things that we're talking about first. But yeah, normally you're at 8-6. You're feeling like you're right in the thick of it pretty good. But this year has been the NFC has been extremely tough, and they talk about it every year as well, right? Like very similar to college football. Like should division winners host a playoff game, or should they get in? I mean, you might have a situation where, right, against a team like Tampa Bay or Carolina, they're going to host a playoff game, right? And they might not even
9-8,
9-8 or 8-9, for God's sakes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, but whatever. That's
they might play a team with 12 wins or more.
Yeah, exactly. They might. So it's just weird part of the NFL. But like you said though, I mean, it is what it is. Like we knew the NFC North was going to be tough and improved, and the Lions schedule was tough, and here's where we're at though. Like they had a tough. The meat of their schedule is over. Are they healthy enough to win these final 3 games? Like I really think they can. I really think they can.
Well, to start this 3-game stretch, they're going to meet an old friend in Aaron Rodgers coming back to Ford Field, and this could be the Lions' last home game of the year. A very outside chance they could win the division that you brought up, but more than likely, if the Lions are going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to go on the road the whole way. So very likely this is the last home game of the season for the Lions, and they welcome the Steelers to Ford Field this Sunday at 4:25. And like I said, man, an old friend in Aaron Rodgers. I thought we would the last time the Lions beat him, I thought that might be the last time they see him, but sure enough, Aaron Rodgers is coming back to town. What are your thoughts on this one, Brian?
Well, yeah, the Steelers are similar, record-wise, 8-6 as well. They don't wow you anymore. I mean, I don't think they're when you think the Steelers, typically you think dominant running game and just a stud defense, and they're kind of middle of the pack of both. Aaron Rodgers isn't necessarily playing at his extremely high level, but he's been effective. The running game, they've had, week to week, different guys stand out. Lately, it's been Kenneth Gainwell taking the reins a little bit. DJ Metcalf at receiver, right? He was in Seattle previously, and he's like one of those matchup problems again, though. He's a big, strong, tall receiver who can run a little bit. So, I mean, that's issues. And then their defense, like led by guys like Cameron Haywood and previously, TJ Watt, which is a crazy situation about his health, having a collapsed lung. Come to find out. So his status really for the rest of the season, I think, is up in the air. But it's not your typical, or I should say it is your typical Mike Tomlin team, right? Where lately they've been around the 500 mark, and not dominant by any means. But one cool local aspect, Derek Harmon, who got drafted out of Oregon, started off at Michigan State. You and I had the opportunity to coach against him when he was at Detroit Loyola, so that's kind of neat. And watch him.
I remember spending hours in the coaching office trying to find a way to scheme against that guy. There just was no scheme against him at that level with what what we're dealing with, man. He was an absolute force.
Yeah, we loved our kids and we love our kids, but like, yeah, there was no blocking that guy, and and so he was a dude. So yeah, I think it's a decent situation for the Lions. I really do, and I've said that for a while. I think it's very, like, they're favored by 7, which was probably a little more than I thought they would have been. That's a lot of points, but right now the Steelers, they play the Ravens again. And they're a game up on the Ravens, and so even if they lose, like, they still have some leeway there to help them out. So they're not playing out of desperation like I think the Lions are. So good matchup for the Lions.
Yeah, I labeled the podcast "It's Now or Not," now or never for the Lions, and this, I mean, it absolutely is. I mean, they got it. If they don't win this one, I mean, that's it.
Yeah,
like, going on the road the last 2 games, or if they lose this one, like, you're playing Aaron Rodgers, like, this isn't a high-powered passing attack like they faced last week. They're going to be at home. Like, this is a game they should win. It's a game they got to win.
So let me ask you this, Dan. So what do you think the fan base's response is going to be if the Lions are not a playoff team? Like, let's say, however it works, 9-8, 8-9, what, even if they went out, or 10, whatever, and they just don't get in, is it going to be one of those, oh shucks, injuries, we couldn't handle it, if we were healthy we'd be okay? Or do you think it's going to be like, what the heck, like, these are not the expectations anymore, this is not acceptable? I know how I think, because I've said it before. But what do you think the overall fan base is? Hey, this is the best run we've had as a Lions fan in a long time. We should enjoy it. Like, what do you think the response will be?
I think the vocal minority is going to be putting heat on Holmes and putting heat on Campbell, probably more heat on Holmes. Again, I mean, there's a lot of frustration about them not making the move to push them over the top, not making moves at the deadline, not making moves in the offseason, specifically at the defensive end spot opposite of Hutch. That's come back to bite them a little bit. I know Muhammad's made some plays. I think he has 9.5 sacks, but a lot of that is feast or famine. I think he has 2 games. I think it was the Ravens and the Dallas game where he had almost 6 sacks combined. I think it was 5.5 sacks in just those 2 games. So it's not like he's had consistent play throughout the year. So there's been a lot of frustration for a while with Holmes in that aspect. So I think, like I said, vocal minority, the people you're going to hear on the radio and things like that. But I think you walk around town, you talk to people, even now, a lot of people, man, just the injuries. The injuries, man, again, 2 years in a row, the injuries are just going to do them in. But I would say this, an aspect to that, it's like the draft, like, you got to get second, third, fourth, fifth round. Like, they needed some guys in the secondary that can step in who maybe they've been developed over the last couple of years, who can plug in and play. And they, instead of pulling guys off the street to go play in the secondary, I guess that would be more of my complaints, is when you draft a guy like a Gio Manu, who is going to be a project, you're still, this is what, year 3 of him, and you're still getting absolutely nothing from him. And guys like that, like like Tesla, I know we like Tesla, we like what he can bring to the table, but if you're going to go re-sign J-Mo, then why are you drafting him? Why are you using draft capital to move up in the 3rd round and then use a 3rd round pick to draft him, when you could be using that on offensive lineman or secondary help? Those are all things that I think are going to come back, that people are going to complain about with Holmes. But I think the ultimate sentiment across the majority of the fan base is going to be, man, the injuries just got us again.
I agree with everything you said, especially the draft part, which is what I was going to talk about, because people can still have the angst towards the not acquiring guys at the deadline. But the NFL historically, and we've mentioned this, usually it's not one guy that puts you over the top in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? It's not like baseball, right, or even basketball or hockey, really, where that one trade can put guys, put an organization over the top and they can just carry it. Typically that doesn't happen in football. So even though it was disappointing they haven't done anything, I think, to your point, it goes back to the draft. Like Hendon Hooker, you just go down the list. Right?
Yeah, that's another one.
You just go down the list of guys that their spots are not contributing, and if they were good depth guys, and for situations like this with the injuries. But I don't like the injury. That drives me nuts. The injury thing, it is what it is, man. Like, next man up. You know what I'm saying?
I get that to a degree, Brian, but when you lose your two safeties and your top two corners, like going into the season, outside, I don't even include DJ Reed into that. You might have your top five guys in your secondary all out. Hey, Reed's come back, but he just is not the same since coming back from that injury, man. He just has not played well.
Yeah.
And then, you lost Rakestraw at the beginning, second year in a row. So this is another guy. I mean, you can call it a bust. That I wouldn't really put that on Holmes. I mean, those are injuries to the guy. Like it's not like he played and didn't play well. We haven't seen it because he's been injured so much. Terrion Arnold, was starting to come on a little bit, and then he gets injured and he's out. And then you lose your safeties in Joseph and Branch. It's just too many injuries to one group. And you're seeing it now. You're seeing them just get torched in the secondary, man. Just torched. They cannot stop the passing game right now from anybody. Now it's starting to affect they can't stop the run either defensively. It's just all falling apart.
Well, like I said, I guess the one saving grace is that I don't think there's a great team in the NFC, and I think it's still really close, and I think other teams are starting to get beat up as well. I mean, the Lions haven't – you could say Brian Branch is the closest thing to Micah Parsons, I guess, on the Lions that the Lions have lost this year, right? But they haven't again, that's like Aiden Hutchinson last year. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how important he is to that defense. So, I mean, it's not the good thing, like I said, when you have Jahmyr Gibbs goes down, trouble, right? I mean, they're still explosive. They still have guys that are at the top 5 of that position, Penei Sewell, et cetera. So, I don't think they're as far off as perceived.
The crazy thing, Brian, if you go back to that Thanksgiving game, if St. Brown doesn't get hurt, they very well could have won that game. Yeah. And the whole narrative of what we're talking about right now is completely different because they're looked at maybe as possibly the favorite to win the division if they have won that game. And that's all, one injury can flip a whole game. And you wonder what a Parsons injury now does to Green Bay.
I do.
That injury could flip how this whole division ends up.
You're asking other guys to quote unquote step up. You're asking now your defensive coordinator to scheme a little bit differently and get creative and that sort of thing when it comes to game planning and his in-game checks and stuff. Yeah, it changes everything. Right? It just does. Emotionally, right? Like, what does it do to your team? It just does. And I'm with you. Like I said, I think the Lions have an opportunity still to win the division. I know that sounds crazy. I just do. I don't think the Bears are as good as their record indicates. And now, like you said, now or never, do or die.
Yeah, it kind of makes it – when they played the first time, it was interesting. Like, okay, I'm not quite sure who to root for. Somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to win. It's kind of the same thing this Saturday with the Packers and Bears. It's 8 p.m. this Saturday, by the way, for Packers and Bears. But it's kind of weird. It's like if you think their division's still on the table and you're rooting for that,
you want the Bears to win.
I think the Bears to win, but if you just want the best chance to get in the playoffs, you want the Bears to lose.
See, I think the Bears lose the last 2 games against San Francisco and Detroit. So I want them to win Saturday night. They have to go to San Francisco. And who's fighting for a playoff spot, right? That's not an easy place to win. So I want the Bears to win Saturday.
Green Bay would have to lose one of the last 2.
And they have to play the Ravens.
Baltimore, but they play Baltimore, and then I believe they're at Minnesota.
Yeah, not easy. Not easy, man. Not easy. It's a fight. I mean, give it this much, right? It's still like we used to always say about the Tigers, you just want to play meaningful games in September. The Lions are playing meaningful games, this late in the season. And
playing meaningful games. But I also say down the stretch with the Tigers, just get in. Just find a way to get in.
Just find a way.
And it feels very much like that. Obviously, you would prefer to win the division and have a home game, but
yes,
man, I think this offense can travel. I think they can play with anybody. They get in. Hey, you got the highest scoring offense in the league. You get in the playoffs. I mean, I don't care. You got a shot. You get a shot. You can win a shootout with anybody. Not ideal, obviously, with the injuries and what the defense is going. But man, you get in. You never know.
For sure. For sure.
But got to win this Sunday. So, Brian, let's shift gears. I know you've been highly anticipating this. You've been excited about this all week. This is, you've been texting me all week about this highly anticipated college football playoff first round, especially that James Madison Oregon game. I know, like one of the highly anticipated playoff games of all time. James Madison Oregon, just unbelievable. But we just start tonight, Brian, and we we joke around it. There is a lot of things we don't like about it, but man, at the end of the day, like tonight, man, Oklahoma versus Alabama in a playoff game. Losers, season's over. Winner, continues on their journey to try to win a national championship. Like, man, it's still cool. Like, it's still going to be a fun atmosphere there in Oklahoma, in Norman, and it should be a pretty good game tonight.
Yep, a team that lost to Florida State and got smoked in their conference championship game. Can't wait to watch Alabama tonight. But
and -3 rushing yards.
-3 rushing yards, right? Goodness. No, yeah. I mean, I'll watch it. It'll be fun. It's pretty cool. Home playoff games like this for college football are pretty neat. I do think the excitement over it nationally, the playoffs is not what it was a year ago, just because last year the newness of it and everything, right? But I don't feel like, oh my gosh, we can't wait. You know what I'm saying? Because there was still something special about January 1st bowl games and the closer we got to that. But yeah, I'll still watch. It'll be interesting. They played already this year, and Oklahoma won, but it wasn't like I know Alabama, I think, controlled the game a lot, like yardage and, had some miscues and stuff. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the stats. You can see the stats there, Brian. Like, it goes to what you said. Like, Alabama doubled them in yards. Mm-hmm. Like, it was, time of possession. They had, almost 10 minutes long, more possession. Mm-hmm. But what killed them was the turnovers.
Yeah. To me, the intrigue of this game isn't necessarily the game itself. The intrigue is if Alabama loses, who's their head coach going to be come Monday? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that's the intrigue. Don't kid yourself. And that's what everybody's talking about, which is, again, just baffling and mind-boggling. But, yeah, so I'll watch. It'll be interesting. College football is still great. We talk about it as stupid as it is at times. It's still fun. But, yeah, I think the intrigue for me is what's going to happen after the game more so than during the game.
It is, I wish they would, I think they do this maybe in the college basketball brackets to some degree, try to dictate matchups and that. Like, they just played a month ago. Like they couldn't have manipulated it a little bit, maybe moved Miami there.
Why couldn't Miami? Yeah.
Maybe Miami, Oklahoma or something. I don't know, man. It just to have an SEC rematch in the first round when they just played a month ago. Man, you guys couldn't have figured out a way to manipulate it a little bit to not get this matchup.
Yeah, I'm curious what the ratings will be. That's a great point. Like, typically it's hard to beat a team twice in college football in a season, and so maybe there's some intrigue there. If you're Alabama, you're feeling good, but you wonder if the distractions about who their coach is going to be and what he's telling the team. And because, again, like, he hasn't come out just like Kenny Dillingham. They haven't come out and just said, no, I'm not going. I am the head coach at Alabama. I'm the head coach at Arizona State. Right. Like, so, players aren't stupid. Like, okay, like they watch TV too, and they're on Twitter and they talk to people. So that's the intrigue to me. But yeah, I'll still watch, Dan. I'll still watch just like everybody else.
But you're right, though. There just isn't a lot of intrigue, I think, to this first round. I think everybody's just kind of waiting for the second round. It feels like when you're going to get a lot of the better matchups, a lot of the more intriguing matchups, and yeah, man. Like I think this will be a good game, but it's just it doesn't move me. Like, I'm not really, saw it. I just saw it a few weeks ago.
And I've seen some neat people nationally talk about the things and express feelings how you and I feel about this whole playoff, right? With the group of five, especially, right? Like somebody said, I think it was Nick Saban who said it's like the AAA champion going to play for the World Series, right? And it's true. It is. You can't kid yourself. Like, it is a second tier. Like, we're going to be watching guys for James Madison and Tulane who might a year from now be playing for their opponents for all we know. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? They transfer to the Power 5 team, right? Like you don't know that. And so so that's not a lot of intrigue. And I think somebody said, I don't know if it was Joel Klatt or whoever, that said, like, yeah, the group of 5 fighting for their lives. Like if these are blowouts, like which we anticipate, like what are we doing? Right? Like what's the point? Which you and I have said for a while.
Yeah, it is wild that like the whole reason they put that caveat in that group of 5 has to get in. Like we've talked about, it was like, like those Boise State teams that were undefeated, or I remember like back in the day, Sean King led Tulane team that was 11-0 and undefeated. Like those teams didn't get a chance to play for a national championship. And that was kind of like, this was the whole idea. Like those teams are going to get a chance now. The problem is there wasn't a group of 5 team that was worthy of being in it this year, and so much that they weren't worthy of being in it. But not only they get one team, they got 2 teams in it. 2 teams in it. Like, how could you these are some of the smartest people, like running universities, running college football. Like, how are you getting some really, really smart, intelligent people in the room, and they couldn't have figured out that this was something that could happen? Like, how do you not put together a system that would avoid this?
Because who knows, like financially, like, right? Like who knows who's in whose coffers, who has what ties to where financially, and like, hey, we got to keep the group of 5 teams in, whatever. Like, Dan, I don't know. Like, I don't.
The only thing I can think of, Brian, is that originally they put this system together was before the Pac-12 fell apart.
Potentially, right? Yeah.
And then also at the time, Clemson was a powerhouse in the ACC, and you had Miami and you Florida State, and like, you wouldn't have thought that the ACC would be so atrocious. And he also obviously didn't anticipate the Pac-12 just completely, being defunct now. Right. They don't even exist, that quickly. It just went away. So that screwed up the whole thing. And you think that you just make the adjustments once that happened, like fix it. So you don't get this situation where you have 2 group of 5 teams. And you brought up ratings. And I find it interesting how they scheduled it, because we talked about the Packers and Bears playing tomorrow at 8. You also got the Eagles and the Commanders playing at 4:30. Now that's not maybe necessarily going to be a huge ratings draw, but it's still an NFL game with the former the defending Super Bowl champions still fighting to win their division. It's still an important game to them, and it's an NFL game. Like they scheduled it so that you have Oklahoma, Alabama tonight, and then I find it very interesting that Texas A&M and Miami, which we can talk about here in a second, they put that one at noon Eastern time, and the JMU game against Oregon is the night game, 8:00, and the Ole Miss Tulane game is a 3:30 game. Those are the 2 games that are going to go head to head with the NFL. It's almost like they're just punting on it. Like, we know we're going to get crushed, so we'll just put those 2 games because we know they're going to be blowouts. So we'll just schedule those 2 games against the NFL games, and we'll get our better matchups in more of that standalone spots.
Yep, for sure. I agree 100%. It was funny. I saw, I don't know if you saw this, Joel Klatt's comments about college football and comparing it to March Madness and stuff. And he basically said March Madness is terrible. And, what's crazy is I don't disagree. Like, I know people love the Cinderella and March Madness, and we've talked about how that's great. It happens, and basketball is different than football because of the physicality aspect and whatnot. But I want to see the best. I want to see the top teams competing for a championship at the end. I'm not interested in James Madison and Tulane being involved right now. I'm just not. And I know he got vilified for that, talking about his take. But again, like, take away people's ability to bet and gamble on their brackets, and I'm sorry, it's not as popular as it is. And people don't, well, what are you doing? You're a hater. No, I enjoy basketball as much as anybody, right? But like, if you're not a basketball fan and a huge college basketball fan, you are not loving March Madness if you don't do a bracket. Like, you're just not, right? And so I agree to his point. I want to see the best. I'm not interested in I'd rather see Notre Dame than James Madison. I'd rather see Notre Dame than Tulane, and we've talked about that. I'd rather see Vanderbilt than those teams.
And Saban brought it up. He's like, how cool would it be to see Notre Dame go up to Oregon? And
Awesome.
that's your primetime matchup, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
ABC, Notre Dame going to Oregon. Like, instead, it's James Madison going to Oregon. It feels like this is like week one. That's like out of 20 games, that's like the 20th game you're going to pay attention to. And it's a playoff game. It's just, it's mind-boggling that we're here.
Yeah. So going back to it, college football, as awesome as it is, it's stupid at the same time.
Well, I do think that, and it is odd that they did schedule this at noon. I talked about the ratings, but man, like Texas A&M at night would be cool. Like, it just seems kind of you're losing a little bit of the possible atmosphere by having it at noon. But this should be like, this is, there's two good first round games. And this is the one on Saturday of the three games that are going to be played on Saturday. This is really the only one of the three that is going to be interesting, I think. And that's Texas A&M hosting Miami. And Brian, just what are your overall thoughts on this one? And who do you think is going to win it?
Well, so what's crazy is, like, Texas A&M, they've been ranked high all year, and people think, well, they didn't really play any of the tough teams in the SEC, right? I don't think they played Alabama. They didn't play Georgia. Okay, well, they went to Notre Dame and won. You know what I'm saying? And you and I have talked about Notre Dame and how we both think they should be fighting, or they should be in the playoffs right now. As one of the favorites to win the national championship. So I think they're really good. And, Miami beat Notre Dame as well. They had a couple bad losses throughout the year, and they obviously weren't the ACC champion either. But this game, I look forward to watching this than I do Alabama, Oklahoma. And watching the game at Kyle Field's really cool, and I'm with you. I wish it was at night. If I had to wager, I would take the Aggies. I think they're going to win. Mm-hmm.
I think they might win in a rout. I really do. I don't think Miami is that good. I know they won week one against, what's funny is these are the two teams that beat Notre Dame in the first 2 weeks of the season. But I just think A&M's more talented. I'm not a believer in Carson Beck. I never have been. And I just, something about Texas A&M, man, I just feel like no matter what the situation is, they're going to be able to rally and come out with a win. Like, they went into Notre Dame, they were down 2 scores in the fourth quarter on the road, a huge game, incredible atmosphere, and they found a way to come back and win that game. They were down 28 in the first half against South Carolina. Found a way to come back, just had an incredible second half and won that game. So that the feeling in the locker room is like, no matter what's going on, no matter what's happening, like, they're going to have tremendous confidence that they're going to be able to pull through. And I just feel like I just think A&M's the better team. And then that home, with that, like we said, man, it would be better if it was at night, but still going to be an incredible atmosphere. I'm going to A&M all the way.
And I think we both think, you mentioned it, Carson Beck. I think Marcel Reed's a better quarterback, than Carson Beck. And I think he's a more dynamic player. And there's an advantage there. And a lot of times it comes back down to that position, like we've talked about ad nauseum. And that'll be a fun one. Like, again, college football, the playoff is going to give us good matchups like this, right? It does. And so, again, I'll be watching and we'll enjoy it. And go Aggies.
And then the final 2 games, I didn't even bother getting graphics for them. That's how I feel about these games. But is there any shot? Is there any shot Tulane goes to Ole Miss? I guess if that was of the 2, that might be just because of what's going on with Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin leaving and all that. Maybe it's the chaos gets to them. I don't know, but it just doesn't feel like Tulane or James Madison have a chance in either of these games.
No, and the thing is, Dan, is a lot of times in college football, like when they talk about like the difference between, the bigger schools and the Power 5 versus the Group of 5, and even not down, like typically like skill guys like James Madison and Tulane, like skill wise, like they'll have some dudes. They have some dudes that create plays, but really it's in the trenches and on both sides of the ball is where the difference is. And so you could have the greatest scheme in the world defensively, right? But if they're physically bigger and stronger than you, which Ole Miss and Oregon will be, like they can just run it down your throat. You know what I'm saying? And they can constantly stop the run of James Madison and Tulane and putting them in 3rd and long situations. So that's really what it comes down to. It's not going to be a situation. It's quote unquote not a meaningless bowl game where you see upsets happen occasionally, right? This is Oregon and Ole Miss are playing for their season, right? And so they're going to come out home and ready to go. I guess maybe one thing potentially is Ole Miss and their situation with Lane Kiffin leaving. I mean, how are they going to respond to that? They'll be emotional and fired up and be ready, obviously, but will the current coaching staff be able to scheme it up the way Lane could? But they might not even have to, like I said. They're probably not going to have to, like I said.
I did find it funny though, with Ole Miss, that Brendan Walker from Unnecessary Roughness and Barstool. I just love that show. I think he's so funny with some of his takes. But he was talking about how, like, with Lane Kiffin, they're like, yeah, get out of here. We don't want you coaching our team in the playoffs. Get the heck out of here. And then all of a sudden they're begging for Charlie Weis Jr. to come back and call the plays for him. It's like, you kind of got one standard with one and one standard with the other.
It's true.
But yeah, I mean, they were able. I mean, I think that's pretty huge that they were able to keep him around to call the offense. So I think that's going to be a huge help to keep consistency.
No, I agree.
Obviously, it probably wouldn't matter as much for this game. They'll probably win on talent alone. Yeah. But going forward into the second round and possibly beyond, that's going to be a huge factor for them.
How many of the Ole Miss guys do you think are already plotting their exit? All the guys. You know what I mean?
I'd like to think that they're focused on the playoff and a chance to win the national title.
You would hope.
But let's not be naive. Like they know a lot of those guys know they're leaving. Yeah. So they're figuring out where they're going to go. And they're probably the first choice would probably be LSU and seeing if Kiffin's going to bring them along. Right. And if not, then they got to be looking elsewhere.
Wild. Just wild.
Because they're preparing for playoffs. It's just, God, it's so hard. Like we're talking about these games, and I want to just focus on the games. You can't. There's just so much garbage. There's so much crap going on. You can't avoid it. Yeah, you can't avoid it. It's just so ridiculous, man. The fact that Ole Miss is, think about their fan base, man. They've waited so long for something like this, to be potentially playing for a national title. And you're in the playoffs, and you're going to have a home playoff game, but there's just so much hanging around. Like, your coach leaves that helped build this thing, and then you have no idea how many of your players are going to be leaving once this playoff run is over.
Pretty wild. Pretty wild.
Well, I was going to shift to the Tigers first, but I want to stick with it because we brought it up quite a bit with the Alabama situation. I want to touch on the Michigan coaching search. And not a whole lot has changed, but it appears, and I know you got a differing opinion on this, but it appears that the top two candidates right now are Kalen DeBoer from Alabama and Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State. And Brian, before we get into that aspect, like you brought up to me, like you're not so sure that those are the two top candidates. So what are your thoughts on the coaching search for Michigan right now?
I just kind of feel like it was similar to the time period, and I talked about this before, right after Lloyd Carr and all that, and Greg Schiano turned down Michigan, and there were other names that said no, and then it ended up being Rich Rodriguez. It just feels like, gosh, like whoever it is walking into a buzzsaw. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot to clean up there. Who's your AD going to be? You know what I mean? Like all that going into it. Like, obviously Bryce Underwood, that's something that is alluring. You know what I'm saying? But you and I talked about, like, he has the physical tools, but maybe he's just not a great quarterback, right? Maybe that's a lot. Like, who knows? So I still look at it like this. Like, Kalen DeBoer is, like, it's funny. Like, who knows? Maybe he's not a great fit. Like, I talk about fit a lot. Maybe he hasn't been a great fit down there with the culture and everything else. But Alabama is a premier college football program. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like he's leaving, something else, like a tier down to go to Michigan. Like, he'd be making, to me, almost a lateral move. Like, if you want to talk about, the college football elite. So it would have to be something where maybe he's just like, hey, I'm not the right fit and I'm willing to go up into that, or the amount of money is so astronomical. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, he just left Washington. I don't know. The one thing I did talk about with Kalen DeBoer is that he did have his time at Eastern Michigan as offensive coordinator. So, he knows Ann Arbor area, right? So it's nothing new to him. I don't know. The Kenny Dillingham
thing. Just like the area.
Or it could just like the area right there.
You
Of
know?
course, there's a lot. Of course, like who there's more to it than we know. I would just like if you look at it simply a college football thing, like the resources at Alabama are still. I mean, Michigan might have a little bit more money, maybe a little more NIL, but like don't pretend that Alabama doesn't. You know what I mean? Have that as well. But if the fit's not right, then that's something totally different. And then Kenny Dillingham, like obviously going from Arizona State to Michigan is a step up. But again, like is younger coach, right? He's had some success, but it hasn't done it for a long time. And, and his success isn't like national championship caliber. Like he made it to the 12-team playoff, right? I'm not demeaning that, but if people at Michigan are willing to put all their eggs into that basket, I don't know if they accept that. Like I said, I don't know. I don't think either. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and I could easily be wrong, but I don't think either makes sense. Like if you want like you're looking for stability, somebody older, somebody willing to come in and clean up and like build that culture again, who's done it. I think that's the route to go. And that's not to demean Kenny Dillingham, right? Or Kalen DeBoer. But I'm curious. I just don't think it's those.
I'm going to bring up a name to you because the aspect of that I wanted to bring up DeBoer in Whittingham Dillingham is with Dillingham. It's a young coach with a lot of energy, motivator, all that stuff, but very young, right? And then DeBoer, it feels like somebody that could come in and kind of be that adult in the room. Right. Yep. And I feel like that's if they need that right now. They need somebody that can just come up and be like a leader, like a guy you can look up to and be a leader. Like I think of like Loikar, like they need somebody of that stature that, like he's in control. He's the man. He's the leader of this program. And, I kind of had a Freudian slip there, like Whittingham from Utah.
Yeah.
He just basically said, I'm a free agent right now. Like
that would make sense.
He seems like a type that would be a perfect fit right now.
Yep. That I agree with. It was interesting when he stepped down at Utah. I wonder if, he kind of knew that this would be happening at Michigan. I don't know. Or if he was planning on retiring and stepping, I don't know, but I agree with you. He comes off as the guy. And again, when you can win at Utah, like Urban Meyer did it obviously at first, right? And then Kyle Whittingham continued it. Like, getting Utah to Rose Bowls is pretty impressive. And so, he comes off as that guy who's done it for a while, like to my point, right? He's done it for a while and he's won championships at a high level. I would put him ahead of the other two.
I just think where Michigan's at right now, he just seems like the right guy. He seems like fit. Now I haven't heard a lot, rumors or anything like that, but just the fact that he came out and, it's not like he said like, oh yeah, I'm retired. If the right job pops up, maybe I'll consider it. But he's pretty open. I think he realized like he kind of done everything that he can do at Utah, and that now is the time if he's ever going to take that big leap. Now would be the time to do it. It's, he's an older coach. Obviously, I think he's in his early 60s, maybe 62, something in that range. So if he's going to do it, it's got to be now. And I think that'd be a really, really interesting and good move for Michigan if they were to go that route.
Yep. And that happens, right? You take a program as far as it can try something else. I still go back to this and it's just going to be weird. So like, again, like they're practicing right now, right? They have like, I think 3 more practices before they leave to go to the Citrus Bowl, a couple more practices down there, and then they play. That's 5 or 6 opportunities for guys to get coached up. And specifically your $10 million quarterback, right? And in 4 weeks, he could have a different quarterback coach with him than is with him right now. That to me is still everything. And
he's probably gonna have a different quarterback coach regardless.
He's probably gonna have a different quarterback coach in a different scheme. And we've talked, you and I, all year about his development and how it just wasn't there. And now is this gonna take it? I mean, potentially, could it be somebody who is able to get to him and make him feel more comfortable, right? And get him to improve and advance his game, or is it going to be the opposite effect where it's now another year of learning something new, right? And hinder his development in that regard. So that to me is probably the most thing, as if you were a Michigan fan, would be the most troubling is, okay, like right? What is his development going to look like?
And I guess, like, if they were looking at Dillingham or Whittingham, like, and DeBoer wasn't in the picture, like, don't you think it kind of would have been done? Like, it'd be done now? Like, it seems odd that you just think they'd be moving along a lot quicker right now if DeBoer wasn't a factor.
I think it. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Like, I think Dillingham, if they wanted him, like 100%, he's our guy. If he leaves before a bowl game, which again, the meaning of the bowl game isn't as important. Like, if they wanted him bad enough, I think he'd be gone. Like, if they would have made the offer and said,
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it'd be gone. This is a unique situation with Kalen DeBoer. Like, again, we'll know in 24 hours, right? Who's the coach of Alabama? I think. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: like, if DeBoer was the number one candidate, but he keeps winning.
Yeah.
And let's say, like, DeBoer, like, maybe in back channels, like, they've kind of like, yeah, I want it. I kind of want it. Like, they kind of know maybe he's leaning that way, that he'll take it, but they keep winning. At what point does Michigan say, like, man, we just can't wait any longer? And the other part is for DeBoer, like, man, we're winning. And we're moving. I got a chance to win the national title. What am I doing? Why would I leave?
I agree. He's been in the playoffs or 1 year.
It is a weird situation. It
really
could potentially be really weird. They keep winning, but he's actually the number one choice.
It's extremely weird. Yeah, it's extremely. I mean, think about this. If you're Michigan, like, there's a coach is making you wait. You know what I mean? A coach is
but he's in the playoff trying to win a national title.
Fine. That's great. And maybe this is something going forward. The NCAA puts in place similar to the NFL, right? Like, you can't have these conversations with coaches, right, for other jobs until their season is over. You know what I'm saying? Like, until the playoffs are over, just like they do in the NFL. Maybe that's something they put in place so Kalen DeBoer doesn't feel like, or Michigan feels like they're in this situation. The calendar sucks because transfer portal, right? And we've talked about that before in recruiting and everything like that. That's the problem. Like, again, none of it is like, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. And I guess the crazy part too is, like, if Ward Manuel knew and others knew about this going back, like, they had to foresee this coming, right? They had to foresee this being an issue with.
That's why I wonder if DeBoer's been the guy the whole time. I really do. If I had to make a pick right now, I think it is DeBoer. And I think that's why this search feels kind of weird. I feel like Dillingham's the backup plan. And that's why he hasn't said anything. He knows it. He's like, okay, if DeBoer doesn't take it, it's going to be mine. And that's why I feel like you're getting this kind of weird situation where neither one of them have kind of drawn the line in the sand and said, I'm not going. I am here. And I'm staying. Neither one have done it. And Dillingham has a contract extension from ASU on the table. He's had it for a couple of weeks and he hasn't signed it. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's weird and unique and fascinating all at once. And they still got a football game they got to play. both teams have a football game. They're all the teams involved, all the coaches involved are going to be.
Michigan does too. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Just absolutely wild situation. Well, let me get you this. I know you don't think it's going to be DeBoer Dillingham. If you had to make a pick, who do you think it's going to be?
The Whittingham news, like, I heard he stepped down, and I didn't think much about it because stepping down I thought was retirement. And then when he made the comment about being in the transfer portal, I'm like, that's a guy that still wants to coach. That's a guy that still wants to coach. And
I'm sure
he would love to coach, like, Michigan. Yeah. Like, I mean, we know this and as football people, right? But, like, I wonder if there are people that wonder, is he a big enough of a name to satisfy Michigan people? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the Alabama coach is big enough of a name. The young up-and-comer that Kenny Dillingham that everybody's talking about, like, he's a name. Is Kyle Whittingham?
I don't know if big name matters so much.
It shouldn't.
I don't, because of what they're coming from.
I agree. It shouldn't. But but it does matter to some people. I think it does matter to some donors. I think it does matter to some alums who they get, right? I do. What's crazy is somebody's going to say this too, like Tony Annese has done an awesome job at Fair State. awesome, right? The best D2 program since he's been there. No question about that. Do I think he's a great fit for the University of Michigan? I do not. And there's a lot of reasons why. And that's not a knock on his ability, but I've seen that a lot. People talk about Tony Annese. I think he's fantastic. I just don't think, I'm not going to give my personal reasons right now, but I don't think he's a great fit for the University of Michigan. Right? I don't. But he's been awesome at the D2 level. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I think the three names we brought up, I think either one of them would be great. I really do. And hopefully it is one of those three. And like I said, my prediction is it's going to be DeBoer.
Let me ask you this: I'll leave you with this, Dan. If it's not one of those three,
I don't know who. It doesn't sound like it's going to be Fish at this point. So I don't know. I don't know.
I thought it was going to be Fish at first.
Would that leave?
I thought it was going to be Fish because his ties here. And then I was actually seeing on Twitter X some local coaches in the area talk about some things with him. Nothing specific, but just how he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way in the state. And then it kind of got me thinking, like, no, like if that's true, right? Because again, who knows, everything that's on social media is, then he's out. Like Michigan doesn't want to deal with that either, right? But I wonder too, like DeBoer, like he's lost games at Alabama to teams he shouldn't have lost to.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, and the
-3 rushing yards is a concern for me.
I wonder, like, if he can recruit at Alabama, you know what I mean? So he has dudes at Alabama. So I don't know, man. It's a weird time to be a Michigan Wolverine fan, or
it's a weird time to be a college football fan, to be honest.
Weird time to be a college football. Yep. Again, this is why if you're Michigan State, like, do you know who I think would be a great hire for the University of Michigan? I think it would have been Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
It would have been Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah, there's a lot. We're not alone in that. There's a lot of people who think that's just a fantastic hire. And, Michigan State, they got a good one, I think.
Yep.
Got a good one in Fitzgerald. And then Michigan's we continue to wait. But when it does happen, we might have to have an emergency podcast to jump on and
we will
talk about who Michigan is hiring. But we'll see. And it could tonight's outcome could be a big factor into that. If Alabama does fall to Oklahoma, does free up DeBoer, going to give them a little bit of free time to maybe go and do some interviews. We'll see.
Do you think tonight's outcome is going to be based on him then saying, okay, now I can make the jump, or it's going to be because Alabama people and fans are going to be so freaking livid that he's like, all right.
Well, that's 2 years in a row losing 4 games.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. The back-to-back losses to Oklahoma in one season in a month.
Yeah.
A team you should really, talent-wise, you should be quite a bit better.
You should be housing. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. And if you're a Michigan fan, though, the interesting thing is, like, do you want this guy who's, couldn't do it at Alabama? So I don't know. It's interesting. It's fascinating. But again, the outcome tonight could play a factor.
Yeah,
we'll see. I think over the next week we're gonna get to the conclusion.
We'll know.
Of this whole thing.
We'll know.
But you talked about being it's an interesting time to be a college football fan. It's an interesting time to be a Detroit Tigers fan. And not a ton of news that came out this week in terms of like signings or anything like that. But just Scott Harris had a press conference talking about the Kylie Jansen signing, and Jeff Rigger, asked some questions, just about like, are you going to make a big move? Or are you going to, go out and get an Alex Bregman or anything like that? And we'll go ahead and play this video. It's about 2 minutes, but this is just Scott Harris answering some questions from Jeff Rigger.
Free agency or in trades moving further into the do you foresee yourself adding offensively? You said you were a top 8 offense, and then in September you became a bottom 8 offense. As of now, it seems like a lot of the same guys are back. Do you foresee yourself being active in free agency or in trades moving further into the offseason here offensively?
Yeah, I mean, we're always going to look to get better. Like I know I've said that a million times. I think there's an important point here is just because a lot of the names look the same doesn't mean the team is the same. From the day I got here, I articulated a vision that is built around development. If we're going to build around development, that this is what it looks like. And so if you chart the course of this team over the past 3 years, I think one of the things you'll notice is that individually guys change, and as a team they change. So think about our team recently, like sort of a microcosm of that development is a guy like Dylan Dingler. You know, at the end of 24, there wasn't a lot of people talking about him and him being like sort of foundational piece of this team moving forward. He got to work last offseason and he changed and he showed up and had a monster year for us. That is a sign of development, right? So individually, these guys can change, and individually they are changing because while there is no baseball right now, there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes that are helping these guys get better. The other way that this roster does change is guys force our hand. Guys get to the big leagues. So there's a lot of young players that are in the big leagues right now that helped us get to the postseason in back-to-back years. There are more coming. And this team is going to change. This roster is going to change. So, like, on the pitching side, for instance, like last year around this time, nobody really was talking about Troy Melton. And now all of a sudden he's a huge part of what we're doing. Like, there are a lot of young players that are coming right now, a lot of guys that aren't necessarily top of mind, but they're going to be top of mind this summer. They are going to be a huge part of this, and we have to make space for that sort of natural change here. So, listen, I understand by the nature of the question that the roster and the offense looks the same. Yeah, I agree. The names are very similar right now, but this team is not the same. This team is changing on an individual and a collective level.
There it is, Brian. And a lot of people were really upset about that, about him saying, that although the names are the same, the team isn't the same. Like, and they couldn't understand what he was trying to say by that. To me, it's pretty obvious. They got guys that are coming up. They got the number one farm system. To me, that screams like Kevin McGonigal might be looking at opening day for somebody like him to be a middle of the lineup type guy for them. But he also mentions, I guess it's maybe a little bit concerning. He talks a lot about, he didn't say it quite in this way, but I think what he meant was we don't want to block our guys. We don't want to block our prospects from coming up. And I still think you can go out and get a Bregman. You're not gonna disrupt what's going on with your farm system. I don't think you're going to be blocking guys. I think that actually enhances things. You get a veteran. I'm not saying go out and get a bunch of guys. Just that one hitter, that one veteran hitter. Not only from how much it's going to improve your lineup, but just improve the veteran leadership and having a guy like a Bregman in there who's been there and done that.
Yeah, remember we talked about that last year where I felt that if you have a Bregman or somebody like that in your lineup, it takes a lot of pressure off those young guys, right, that he talked about with developing. And everything he said, I don't think he said anything that's necessarily wrong, obviously, right? I think naturally, very similar to the Red Wings, where the young guys, they're anticipating they make that jump and they continue to improve, right? And kind of what Clay Snowden was talking about the other day with the OPS and stuff with Riley Green and Spencer Torkelson only improving as they get older. To me, those are the guys where we still need to see that jump, right? For as good a year as bounce back for Torque and the All-Star year for Riley Green, there's still holes to their game. And that's where I think they need to make that jump. And so to his point where he said, even though the names are the same, we're going to be vastly different. I think he's alluding to that, where guys are going to continue to get better. Parker Meadows,
Cole Keith, I think.
Keith is right. He
feels like the guy that could make that big jump.
So it's one of those deals where, to your point and to the fans' point, it'd be great if they could just have somebody stable in their lineup where they weren't relying on making that jump, right? Where he's done it. You look at the back of his card, his bubblegum card, right? As Jim Price used to always say, and his stats are going to be what they are every year, right? They can be 300 or hit 300, whatever. That is, I don't want to say it's dangerous, but that's where fans are well, then, dude, you better be right. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not going to be content with anything less than that, especially at this point after 2 playoff appearances. And now, again, they play in a division that isn't exactly dominant. Right. With the wild card opportunities, they're going to be in a playoff hunt pretty much no matter what goes on. And again, who knows what this trade deadline looks like compared to last year? Who knows who's available, offensively, right? Maybe that's the time, right? You see that jump. Maybe you get that part of the season with McGonigal in the lineup to see if he's major league ready or whoever. maybe you see if, okay, Colt Keith is making that jump or those guys are making that jump. So, I mean, he's not wrong, but just it would make us all as fans feel a lot better if they were active, like really active and close to, Bregman, Bichette, Kyle Tucker, things like that.
Yeah, I get that. I've been on that bandwagon since the rumors first came up last year about getting Bregman. I just think it just makes so much sense to sign him. But at the end of the day, like I look at what the Tigers are and what they look to be in the future. Like I just don't understand the frustration and the heat that Harris gets when they've been to the playoffs 2 years in a row. He's only been here for 3 years.
Yeah.
You look at the fact that their farm system is the number one in all of baseball.
Yeah.
You look at all these prospects that are potentially going to be coming up. Like, I understand what they're trying to do. And I think fans are just having a tough time accepting the fact that this isn't going to be the Mike Ilitch, Dave Dombrowski Tigers. That I think a lot of the fans that are giving heat to Harris want it to be like that, where they were constantly going out and getting stars. They were constantly going out and spending money. But what didn't they have? They didn't replenish guys. Like, they didn't bring up guys from the minors. Their minor systems was always in kind of the low 20s. Like, they never had a great farm system under Dave Dombrowski. Like, there was very few prospects that came up and performed at a high level. It's a completely different philosophy that they're going under Harris. And so far, just through 3 years, it appears that system and what they're trying to do as a complete organization from top to bottom has completely improved and continues to get better and better. And there's just tons of success over the last couple of years in every level within the Tigers organization. So I just don't understand this overall frustration and heat on Harris when it feels like it just from an outside looking in. You look at the whole organization, it just feels like they're on the ascend, like they're just moving up and up. Like, I don't get it.
I would say, I think, like, even with the luxury tax, like baseball, like unless you are that, big money spender, you feel like you really don't have a shot, right? I mean, there's obviously been exceptions to that rule. The 2015 Kansas City Royals, it still makes me sick to my stomach that they won a World Series for the Tigers. The Texas Rangers a couple of years ago, maybe, right? Maybe the Nationals, but like you just feel like if you're not the Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, you know what I'm saying? If you're Phillies, like if you're not one of those big spending teams, you're not winning. And I think fans kind of feel that, to be honest with you. And maybe it shouldn't be direct.
What happens if the Blue Jays win? Does that feeling change? I mean, they were literally like a half an inch from winning. I don't know
but I don't know if the Blue Jays are. Let me look at. I don't have the Blue Jays payroll in front of me, but I think it's pretty big. You know what I'm saying? I think it's bigger than the Tigers.
We're near to the levels of the Mets and Yankees and Phillies.
No, but let's take a look.
I mean, I think they're top 10, but I don't think people look at them as like
they're three. And like, I'm looking at it right now, according to spotrac.com, right? They are three: Dodgers, Braves, Blue Jays, Mets, Phillies, Yankees, all teams I just mentioned, right? And so you just feel like if you're not, and the Tigers are 17, and there's no way the Tigers are the 17th biggest market in baseball. Like, that's where I feel so.
You got that in front of you. Where's Seattle?
I'm going to tell you. Seattle is 16, one spot ahead of the Tigers. So but they're not going to re-sign Eugenio Suarez. You know what I'm saying? I doubt, right? So I just think it's perception, and maybe it's not. Maybe the angst shouldn't be at Scott Harris, because you're right. Like, he's made their farm system a priority, and it's worked out. Maybe it should be at Chris Ilitch, and maybe we don't realize how spoiled we were as fans to have an owner like Mike Ilitch, right, who did everything he could before he passed away to win. And I think that's what people are clamoring for. But again, like baseball is a sport where it's hard to get good. Like, if you're bad for a while, right? And if you're good for a while. So it could be something where they're setting themselves up, we feel like, for the next 10 years of being good, just like it was from 06 to 16. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's hard when, winning the ultimate is really what it's about. And, I think fans really want that. Which, going back to similar to the Lions talk and like the Tigers at the trade deadline, like you at times, wish like they'd have gone all in and you really couldn't have given up. It doesn't have to be Max Clark or McGonigal, but could you give up your second tier prospect to potentially get a guy? That's why I think fans are frustrated. But to your point, what we've said all along,
it just feels like, Brian, like it feels like there's this overall sentiment, and maybe like I talked about, maybe it's a vocal minority, but I don't know, man. Like the fact that they didn't sell out that playoff game really bothered me. Yeah, because that doesn't happen in Detroit. No. Like I used to always make fun of other cities when their playoff games didn't sell out. Like that would never happen here. It would never happen here. This is Detroit. We're the best sports city in the world. Like that would never happen here. And then it happened. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow. Like I think it's like almost like this championship or bust mentality across all the teams and all the fan bases in the city. And I don't know what happened. Why it's that way. And it seems so odd to me when we just went through this horrible, maybe one of the worst eras in Detroit sports history. Yeah. In like 2017, 2018, 2019, that era, where all the teams were bad. And now we're in the situation where all the teams are at least playoff contenders, if not championship contenders. And it's like fans don't want to, they don't love it. Like they're like, it's like, if we don't win the championship, who cares? And I don't understand. I never understand that mentality.
I think it's because the last championship here was what, the 2009 Red Wings, right? I mean, you're talking.
If we're taking college out of it, yeah.
If you're taking college out of it, so you're talking 16 years though without a pro championship. Like I can't compare it to other cities, but like, Boston's had one, New York's had one, LA's had one, Chicago's had one, right? Like, so it's frustrating if you think your city is along the lines of those cities. I think that's a frustrating part for fans, and we're spoiled a little bit. But this gives credence back to our point. We had a great conversation with Clay Snowden about it. when we talked about Kenley Jansen, like, so it's like, it was to me that is like, okay, maybe they're not trading Skubal, maybe they are trying to go for it, right? Because why spend $11 million on a back end reliever for $11 million if you're not serious? Like, why not continue to develop those young guys there? Why do that, right? But then Scott Harris comes out and is like, well, no, I don't know if we want. Didn't sound like they want to acquire a bat. So it's like, well, dang it, like. All right, then. So what is it? So Zach McKinstry is going to be your third baseman, right? So,
well, if that's, I'm going to say this. We'll finish up with this with Tiger Talk. We'll finish the show up. If they don't go out and sign a Bregman Bichette, somebody that cover, even like another tier, Hong Sang Kim ended up getting signed. Yep. He was a guy that Clay Snowden brought up who could be a possible choice, but he ended up signing 1 year with the Braves. So it's not going to be him, but it could be somebody in that tier. But if they don't sign anybody, then these young guys better be coming up. Like, and McGonigal better be up. If he has a great spring, he better be on the opening day roster. Like, because let's go, man. If you're not going to go out and get the big names because you don't want to block your prospects, then these guys better be ready. And they better be ready to go this season. And if it's McGonigal, I would hope opening day. And maybe Max Clark, maybe that's a little bit longer. Maybe that's an all-star break or
I think it's
September
more
and August. But these guys got to start coming up then.
I think
they're not going to go out and sign big free agents.
Well, you said guys. Like, I think it's Hunyu Lee, somebody like that, because he's like 24, 25 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Max somebody, Anderson, the guys that were finished at AAA.
Yep. It's guys that are. It's like, okay, actually Hunyu Lee is 22, right? Okay, so he's still right in that mold. Max Anderson's 23. So I mean, yeah, guys like that, because all the other guys plural that we're talking about, like McGonigal's only 21, like Max Clark's still 20, right? Rayner, he's coming off an injury, he's 20. Brasinho is 21. Like, Lorenzo's 22. Like, that's asking a lot for young guys, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Maybe McGonigal, just because he's so talented, right? You've seen young guys that young perform and do well in the major leagues, but those guys are also superstars that are performing at that level too. So, I don't know. It's interesting. Could, like, the Tigers, if they run it back with what they have in their lineup right now, they're still going to be competitive in the AL Central.
They're the favorites to win the division.
Right, they'll be the favorites.
And I bring this up, Brian, like, what are the White Sox? Obviously, they're in the beginning of what's going to be a long rebuild for them.
Yep.
Where are the Twins? They're trying to sell their team.
They traded
They're going to get rid of more payroll, if anything.
Yeah.
Look at the Guardians. They're never a team that's going to go out. They get the best of what they have. They always do.
Yep. Great
but
organization.
they're not going to go out and make a big signing.
Nope.
Like they might make a trade and do some things on the edges, but they're not going to go out and make a big move. The only team that could you could see maybe doing something would be the Royals.
Mhm.
They kind of had a disappointing season last year, and they got a pretty good team and a pretty good roster, but still, they haven't been. You haven't heard their name really kind of thrown around with some of the big names. So
No.
again, I just bring back like the Tigers. They bring back what they got. They brought back their team. They went out. They signed. They got Torres for $22 million. They got Flaherty for $20 million.
Yeah.
Like they went out and got Finnegan. Like they got Jansen. Like they're doing stuff. Like they're doing things. Man.
So that's where, God, it's weird because like next year, and Clay Snowden talked about this a lot, right? Like you're not gonna have like Jack Flaherty is gonna be a free agent. School's gonna be a free agent. Casey Mize is up for arbitration. Like who knows what your rotation is gonna look like next year, right? Like you got to fill that somewhere. So either you're resigning all those guys, dealing them, or you're going for it now, right? Which I don't know. I mean, it's still like they've had late signings before. I think it was December 27th last year where they signed Gleyber Torres. You know what I'm saying? I remember Prince Fielder got signed really late, that one-off season, spring training almost. So, I mean, there's still a lot of time.
Get signed to the Red Sox until
like
February, something like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. And when the Tigers signed Pudge the 1 year, it was really late. I mean, so a lot could still happen. But we'll see.
Yeah, I found it interesting just the outlash, like the rage of the fans and the media, and just like, I'm like, man, you guys got to take a step back, take a little bit of a step back. Like they made the playoffs the last 2 years. Like I don't know, man. It just kind of bugged me a little bit, and it goes back to the the playoff game not selling out. It just it just all bothers me a little bit because it's just been so exciting to see this renaissance of the Tigers after some really bad years with the Avila era. I think Harris has done a good job, but at some point he's gonna have to make it. He's gonna have to make some type of move. He's gonna have to do something.
Yeah, as Clay said, a lot of GMs in this town are just risk averse, right? Like they're not willing to make that splash. So that's it's great having the long term, competitors, right? Being good for 10 years is great. But at some point, man, people in this town just want a championship. It's been too long.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can wrap it up at that, but we'll let people know this Sunday, 8 p.m. We got, again, 2 special guests that are going to be on. And Brian, I'll let you go ahead and introduce those guys because I know you took the lead on this one and went out and got the 2 guests for us for this Sunday. Let's know who we got. Yeah,
I'm fired up. So we have Mark Wilson, who is from Parker and the Man, who, if you remember back in the WDFN days here for Sports Talk Radio in Detroit, he was a local guy and he worked with Rob Parker. And I remember, as a high school kid in early college, listening to him a lot. So he's a cool guy and followed him on Twitter and just had conversations with him. So I'm fired up to talk to him. And then also the creator of the Detroit Tigers minor league report, Roger Castillo, another Catholic League guy, actually, right? So pretty fired up to talk to him about some of those things we were just talking about, the Tigers minor league prospects, and he's going to give us a ton of insight on that. So that's this is, again, Dan, we're starting to get some great guys to talk to and fired up about this one. Yeah, really excited to talk to Roger because, man, I would see him pop up quite a bit because MLB TV allowed this option this year where you could watch all the minor leagues throughout the whole system. So I watched more minor league baseball than I ever have in my life. And obviously with all the prospects and everything, it was really exciting to watch those guys. But Roger would pop up a lot of times on the Erie broadcast and the West Michigan broadcast. And it's like, it was really cool to see him pop up and give his insights. So, man, there's a guy to talk about the minor leagues and the prospects and how the Tigers are, as we talked about, have shifted into really, a draft and develop type of organization. There's not many people that know more about the Tigers minor leagues than Roger. So really excited to talk to him this Sunday. It's going to be a fun one. Absolutely. For tonight, that will wrap it up. For Coach Barnes, I'm Dan Murphy, and we'll see you Sunday night.